It's been a while since I made any video, but I've been meaning to, you know, start again. And I wanted to try and do something different. I would record my voice first and then draw over that so that it might be a little more genuine. Because last time I would just draw for a little while and then I would record my voice, and it felt like I was rushed to talk about whatever I was trying to talk about. And I thought this might be a better idea to record my voice first before I draw, so that not only I'll get as much time as I want to talk about whatever, and then I'll also have enough time to draw even better, make even better drawings, probably. Because I could talk for probably hours to myself if I really wanted to, which is very sad sounding, but it's true. I can talk to myself for a long time. That's the thing about being lonely and feeling alone a lot of the time. I guess you become your own best friend, which is just, it again sounds very sad, but it's true. That's been my life, though, for the last couple of years. I feel like, a lot of stuff, because a lot of stuff has changed in my life. I've had to grow up faster. So I feel like I've been kind of almost living as an adult for the last 4 years, ever since I was 14 or 15 years old. I feel like I had to grow up really quickly, and I became very independent and self-reliant from pretty much 90% of everything, except for the food. My dad gets the food and he pays for the house I live in, but everything else, pretty much, I feel like I've basically been on my own most of the time, because my parents are separated, and I don't know, my dad, he has a girlfriend already. He's had a girlfriend, and she takes a lot of his time away. I still see him, of course, just not as much as I would like to, but I'm still happy I get to see him, and I'm happy I'm alive, I guess. But I just, sometimes I wish I had a little bit more. I wish I had more people behind me sometimes. I wish I had more people close on my shoulders like I used to. Like my grandmother, my dad's mom. She was a big part of my life for the last couple of years when I felt so alone and sad and just unsure of what things would be like in my life. I had her and my aunt. My aunt took care of my grandmother, and she's all alone now too, and that makes me sad as well. And it just feels like when one bad thing ends, another bad thing begins, and there's never truly a break from it all. It's just a constant battle trying to maintain some sort of normalcy, because it feels like ever since coronavirus 2020, 6 years ago at this point, it feels like it hasn't felt good at all trying to do anything. It feels like since 2020, since the coronavirus happened, everything bad happened. Well, nonstop, just bad stuff has happened since then. Every year feels like it gets worse. Almost, it doesn't get better. It feels like each year it's just been crap. Nothing really great has happened. I guess I can't really say that because the last couple of years, well, last year, I guess things did start to get better for me since I started talking to my grandparents again and going over to their house more and hanging out with them more and helping them out around the house has been a big step because I spent like 3 years away from their house and not talking to them. So that is a good thing that has come out of all of this. And I have meant to talk about that a little more. From my first video I made, I said I was trying to work out some sort of agreement with my grandparents where I could come over and spend a couple days at a time, every other week or every week or whatever, helping around the house and doing any sort of chores that they might ask of me, or just helping outside on the property, doing whatever, just to do something, not even for money at all, really. But that I have been doing that for the last couple weeks. I've been at my grandparents a lot more, and I'm really happy about it. I appreciate them so much for having me back. I was afraid. I think a big reason why I didn't want to go back to them sooner was also because I was nervous that they wouldn't want me back and they'd be mad at me, of course, because I was mad at them for a time. I don't think that's the case, though. They seemed just as happy as they were before to have me back, but I realize now I probably didn't have to take as long away from them. I realized, like, at the time, I was just torn because so much was happening. I didn't know who to trust, pretty much. That's the big thing about it. I didn't know who to trust. I don't even think I trusted myself because it felt like everyone was turning on each other. This was the time when my parents were pretty much at their end of the marriage. It was just all out war, pretty much. There was absolutely no love at all anymore. And it was like the final straw. It was the end. And I was obviously very affected by it. And I still feel like, affected because I'm older. I'm the older sibling. And I feel like I'm supposed to have my head put on together, my head twisted on right, and I feel like clueless about everything. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to have my shit together, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm still trying to figure that out. And that's also why I'm trying to get in better with my grandparents, because they're one of the only resources I have, I feel like, left, in my immediate area, because everybody else moved away somewhere else. And I really do hope that they will help me a little more now, since my mom and my sister moved away. They moved finally they moved to another part of the state. And that's another thing that I think is affecting me a little bit. Like, it makes me think a little more. It makes me a little more scared and nervous about my life, because I did rely on my mom a lot for important stuff. And I know I can have my dad help me with things as well, and I do try and ask for his help. I think that's just a thing that most of us know growing up. It's like we have a healthier fear of our fathers for some reason. I get a little nervous around my dad asking him for things. And I don't think that's like a bad thing. Um I don't think it's not a common thing. I feel like a lot of kids, a lot of us have a healthy fear of our dads, and it's a normal thing. And it's not that I won't ask him for anything. It's just I have a healthy fear of it, of him, of asking for things, because I don't know. I think that's just nature, in our nature, to fear our dads. I guess when you look at like the animal kingdom, how like the dads usually don't take care of the kid as much. It's mostly up to the mom. I guess it's sort of the same in real life, not to sound sexist or anything, but I guess that's just the way life works. And I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm trying to, get back to this thing. I know I took a little bit of time away, but I think that's okay. I hope it's okay. I spent some time catching up with my grandparents and doing more stuff with them, which I think is a really great thing. Yesterday, I hung out with my friends, which was really fun. My friend picked me up and we went to the mall, and it was a great time, for a few hours, and I really had a good time. I just recently came back home from my grandparents' house, actually. And I'll be going back there next week, because I'm going to be going to tour a college in my state, which I am pretty excited about. Going to go tour and just get in to the college and meet some new people and talk about majors and the minors and all that stuff. I'm also trying to take this summer to, prepare for college a little more. I think it's fine what I'm doing. I know, like, pretty much most of the people I run into, if I see any of my family members, we just recently had a July 4th party at my grandparents' house, where all the relatives came, and cousins, and all the family members came for this party. And pretty much everybody's like, hey, you got a job, or you working this summer? And I always feel like a loser, telling them what I'm doing. Like with my grandparents, and, helping them out and stuff. And I'm just kind of hanging out this summer. I feel like a fucking loser. Sorry to curse again. Like I said before, I'm gonna curse. I think that's just in our human nature to curse. It's just words. So if you get offended at all, don't get mad. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna curse. I will warn you again, but I think, it's just a way to express ourselves. But anyways, everybody's always like, are you working this summer? You got any work going? And I'm always like trying to explain myself without sounding as much of a loser as I sound like trying to explain what I'm doing. I'm just kind of hanging out with family members, seeing my friends every now and again. Working on my art, my writing, enjoying myself, of course, watching YouTube, watching movies, all that stuff. Trying to just enjoy my last summer as a kid, as a 17-year-old, my last summer. I'm trying to just enjoy. And I think that a lot of kids don't realize that, once you're 17, it's your last time as a kid. I guess legally, your last time being a kid, and I feel like not all of us really take that into consideration. A lot of us would probably take it for granted that it's our last time being kids. And that's why I'm trying to at least enjoy this last summer. Because I have worked, and I'm grateful that I had a job at all. I didn't think I would be able to get a job at all. And I'm really grateful, and I do appreciate that I had a job. Even if it was crappy, I'm still happy I got a job. But I also think, it's not completely horrible idea to just take the summer to focus on things I like doing more, and not to have that sort of responsibility hung over my head yet. I'm not saying that working is a bad thing, or, having those responsibilities are bad. I definitely think they're great things. I just found myself watching Instagram Reels the other day, a week ago or something, about how, like, the economy sucks right now, and trying to get a job, even as a teenager, can be really, really hard, really stressful. And all these memes I've seen of being a teenager, trying to get a job, when you apply to the whole city, and your mom's like on your back and stuff. It's funny, but it's also, it sucks. I just had like hiccup or something, but it's like, it's really hard to get a job even as a teenager. Maybe that's just Instagram, or maybe it's not the same for my city. I don't want to sound like I don't want a job. I was trying to get my job back at the zoo I worked at. I was trying my damnedest to get my job back. And they weren't really giving me anything. I kept asking. They kept telling me they would get back to me. They never did. Sorry, I need to take a drink. My throat's starting to get dry. But I tried asking every week. I would message my bosses asking for anything, and they didn't really give me much. They just said they would, talk to the people they have close to them. But they never did get back to me. I was always the one to inquire back, which sucks. Because I felt inferior. I felt like they weren't giving me anything at all. Man, it's weird. When I talk too long, I start to lose the breath in my lungs, and I start to vibrate. Or maybe that's just the coffee I'm drinking, but it's weird. if I when I talk too long, I lose the air in my lungs. I start to feel like kind of like woozy, like I'm gonna pass out or something. But it's okay. And just take a deep breath, I guess. Hopefully, you're not witnessing me having like a panic attack or like I'm gonna pass out. That'd be crazy, but it's all good. As I was saying, felt like they just didn't care. They didn't want to give me a job, which I would understand because I'm just a stupid teenager looking for a summer job. But that's usually the demographic that would apply to that job, anyways. So it just feels stupid, really. But whatever. It's kind of a blessing in disguise, I guess, because that gives me the summer to enjoy everything one last time. Because, I know next summer I'm probably going to be applying to colleges and doing all that sort of stuff. Which is cool because I'm excited. I'm excited to start my next phase of life, I think. I think I've been ready for the last 10 years pretty much. I've always kind of wanted to break free. As Freddie Mercury would say, I've wanted to break free for the last 10 years. I've wanted to live somewhere else, move somewhere and live on my own, I guess. Try and live on my own for a long time. Because, to be completely honest, I'm sick of where I live. I'm sick of my hometown. I've lived here all my life, ever since I was born. I'm native to my city, and I think I'm ready for a change. I'm ready to move on. It feels like everywhere I go other than my hometown, if I ever visit a different place, I always have a great time. Life seems to always feel so much better when I move, when I go somewhere for vacation or for a break or something. It always feels like so much better, and I think that's probably common for a lot of kids or a lot of people. If you go to a vacation, you feel so much better, and then you come back home and it feels like everything bad that you dealt with at home, it just hits you back in the face right when you step through the door. It was all waiting for you back right when you open the door. It was all waiting for you, and that's always how I feel coming back home. Even when I go to my grandparents' house, where they live in the same hometown. They live in the same place, and even when I come back home from their house, it feels the same. Maybe it's just my house that sucks. Not to diss my dad or anything. I'm sure he can agree that this house isn't the best. We lived here all our lives. He lived here before I was born with my mom. And I think when they got it, it was kind of a crappy place. And there's no AC. The last week, it was 90 degrees every day, 90% humidity, 90 degrees inside and out, and it just sucked. But yeah. Maybe it's just the house I live in. I just want to move to a new place, new spot. Maybe I won't need to move to a completely different state or whatever. I'll just move to somewhere else in the city. But to be completely honest, I still agree that this city, it still sucks. It's still a dreary, little sad place. I think I still want to try and go somewhere else. even if that's just for college and then I move back or something. I don't care. I think it'd be good for me to get out of here and to do something else and to just move and try my luck on my own, because I think I'm pretty well equipped to be an adult. I hope. I hope I'll be somewhat okay at being an adult, because I feel like I've been living like pretty self-sufficiently for the last couple of years. So I hope that, I might have a leg up in life because of that. But I don't know. You never know what's in store. Life is like a box of chocolates, as Forrest Gump would say. But yeah, that's just a little bit about, stuff lately, I guess, that I've been thinking. I'm excited about, the future. I'm always excited to think about the future, but also scared. I'm anxious to start new things. Once I turn 18, I'm anxious to have more control over things. I'll be able to do more with my life, hopefully have more freedom financially, to focus on different ventures, like trying to make artwork and maybe try to start getting into the process of trying to sell one of my books I wrote. I'm currently writing my book still about my life in real life, my life, my day to day, just it's kind of like journaling type. It's a journal type book. I guess the Anne Frank book, but less sad than that. Also, the Dracula book is kind of formatted that way. It's more like journal entries, but it's not as scary, I guess. My life isn't as scary as those books. I don't think. Honestly, maybe it is. Because real life is scarier than any horror monster book, I think. Humans are scarier than monsters. I think we can all agree. Humans are the scariest thing ever put on this earth. Mankind. Man and womankind, for that matter. Equality. But, yeah. Maybe I should just slow down. My voice starts to sound weird after a while if I talk too much. I should slow down, catch my breath a little bit. But, yeah. I guess that's just a little bit about things recently, about my life recently. It's been pretty good, I would say. I don't care what people say really about my job status. I'm a teenager. We're not supposed to be financially reliant on ourselves yet. We're teens. We're supposed to try and save our money as much as we can. But to be honest, how much are we gonna be saving? We still get our taxes, our tax money taken away. Before the money we make after taxes, it's a lot less. I guess it's a lot less. They automatically take it away. You still pay taxes. I've paid. Well, I haven't had to pay taxes, but for real. But I've had to do my taxes. Go to a place and get my taxes done by professionals. But to be quite honest, we're not going to be self-reliant, paying for bills and all that shit yet. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's fine to do what I'm doing. Because I have my whole life ahead of me to worry about jobs, all that important shit. So I'm going to try and enjoy myself as much as I can now before I worry about all the responsible adult crap. I'm trying to do my very best with what I got right now. I haven't had the most glamorous life, but I'm trying my best, and I'm trying to enjoy myself because I've had a hard time being optimistic throughout my life. It's been hard. I'm very much pessimistic. I think I've been pessimistic my whole life, even as a kid. Probably because of my dad. And I'm not trying to be, like I said before, I'm not trying to diss him. I love my dad and my mom. I love both my parents. I am not an asshole, okay? I love both my parents. I know it hasn't been the easiest, but they've done the very best they can for me. And I appreciate both of them, and I love them both. And I don't think I really truly understood that until they divorced. It's sad. It really is. I don't think I truly understood how much they cared for me and my sister, or how much I thought of them, how much I loved them and cared for them until they divorced. And it made me truly realize how much I loved them and appreciated them as my parents being together. It makes me really sad to think about. And I really do miss my family, even if times got real tough, really rough. I do miss having a family. Because I had that safety. It felt like I had that safety, that safety net. My mom and dad on my side. It does make me sad. I'll try my best not to cry on these recordings, but I can't promise anything. Just like I said with my cursing, I'm gonna curse. Hopefully YouTube doesn't destroy me for that, but it's expression. It's a self-expression, just like drawing, just like writing, just like playing sports and all that. I would say swearing is just as expressive as any of that, and I'm going to curse. Because it's just me expressing myself further. If I cry, I'll cry. This channel, these videos are going to be very heavily just raw. I'm going to try and make them as raw and genuine as I can. To give you a sneak peek into my life as much as I can without being too, deep into things. I mean, I'll get deep. I won't explicitly tell you the names of my friends or my family in places I live just for protection purposes, but I'm gonna talk about some heavy stuff, or at least, heavy to me, because I think it's important. It's important to get these types of things off my chest. But yeah, I hope I can relate to at least a few of you out there who see my videos. If I can resonate with any one of you, it would make me feel really great. I feel like I'll be a voice for, other people who might be struggling. I also realize Men's Mental Health Awareness Month has passed, but I still want to reiterate, If you're struggling out there, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody, whether that be a therapist, a friend, your parents, whoever. If you're struggling out there, don't be afraid to ask for help. Not just for men, I know, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month was a big thing, but, anybody. Women, younger audience, younger people, teenagers, anybody. If you're struggling out there, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to comment down below. A safe space just to talk, to get whatever you have out from your chat, from inside. Just do whatever you can to make yourself feel a little better. Talk to somebody, draw like I do, write. If you really want to, you could try and make videos like me. That'd be so cool. To inspire somebody to make their own videos, that'd be so cool. But just do whatever you want. Do whatever makes you happy. And don't worry about whatever anyone else says about it. Don't worry about what other people say. No matter what. If you like something that makes you happy, do it. As much as you can. Obviously, don't commit crimes or anything like that. But express yourself creatively and in a healthy way, just like me. I want you to get the help you deserve if you really need help. Go out and find it. Ask for help. Don't be afraid. I know I've been afraid to ask for help, to speak up, because I felt like my voice wasn't heard for a time. And that was the time when I was overwhelmed, and I stopped talking to everybody, not just my grandparents, my mom, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents. I closed myself off. It was just me and my dad's girlfriend, for like 3 years. But it's okay. Sorry for all the clattering. It's just me drinking some coffee. But I isolated myself for a while, and I'm honestly surprised in myself I could do that for that long. Very stubborn, I would say. I guess I was pretty stubborn to do that. But I was very overwhelmed. I was very angry, sad, scared. I felt kind of happy, I guess, at times, to be more self-reliant. I guess I always kind of wanted to be a, more independent person, coming from being very introverted and shy and nervous. I guess I wanted to become more extroverted and independent for myself. So I guess for a time, maybe at first I felt happy to be free and, not under constant stress by everybody. I think it was just more me feeling super stressed out and overwhelmed, and just I didn't know who to go to. I felt like everybody was out to get me. I had nobody in my corner, really, except for my grandma, my dad's mom, my dad. I just felt very closed off. I felt like I couldn't trust anybody. I had really very few people to go to, because I was scared. At the time, things were really tough on my family. It was pretty divided, and I had no idea what the future was looking like. I didn't even understand. I didn't even know my parents were divorcing, really, until my dad was like, yeah, I don't know. we can't keep living this way, son. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right, man. Because it was really bad. As much as I loved my family, it was probably the right decision because it was just stress. There was no love, there was no care really. It was a lot of arguing, fighting, all that stuff, and I felt like throughout that time when my family was going through all that, I was already pretty self-sufficient and independent on my own, just trying to look after myself, trying to make sure I was safe myself because I felt like I was scared. I was like, at times I was just scared for my life, my well-being, I guess. Not to make it sound like my parents abused me or anything. They never abused me. It was just very scary because they argued a lot, and also having my little sister on my shoulder, trying to look after her the best I could. It was very hard. And I remember distinctly one day, my dad, I think he went somewhere probably to breathe for a moment. He left the house. It was just my mom, and she was hyper, very hyper. I'll be completely honest. My mom, she has PTSD. She was in the army. And again, I love my mom. I don't want to throw any dirt on her. That's not what this is about. I'm just stating the truth and what I went through and what my family went through. And I hope she doesn't get mad at me. But, my mom, she suffers from, she has some PTSD, and she's bipolar. And I think that's, talking to my other family members, my grandparents, my dad, my sister, most my family members, it's very obvious. Even my mom, she's come up very far from it. It used to be pretty hard to deal with. But she's come a long way, and she's taken the steps, I think, to get better from it. And we can talk about it more now, I think. Back then, it was very difficult to talk about, and I was so afraid to even mention it because I didn't want to set her off and make her upset. But I think we've come a long way from it. And back then, it was harder for her to manage it, and she took it out on us, and it was very hard. It was very hard throughout my childhood to deal with that, but I'm very thankful that she's come this far. Even recently, in the last couple of months, I went camping with my mom and my mom's girlfriend and my sister, and she was still a little bit hyper from it, but she was on the tail end. She was getting better, and I think she was taking her medicine from it, and she was managing it more. But I guess one of those days, she forgot to take the medicine, and then the next morning, she was pretty hyper and she was pretty worked up, and like I was asleep. I just woke up, I think, and my sister, they were outside. My mom and my sister were outside hanging out, doing stuff. I don't know, my sister was probably riding her bike or something. But my mom was really pushing me to like come outside and play with my sister, and I was like, I just got up. I just can I have some coffee, and can I just like get up for a moment, and then I'll come out and hang out. And then my sister came in and she was asking me, and I told her the same thing. Hey, I just got up. Can you at least give me like a second to, what's it called? I don't know what that word, I'm trying to think of this word. I don't know. I just woke up. I wanted to drink some coffee, and then I was gonna go out and do whatever, hang out with my family. But, my sister went out. I guess she was pretty upset that I was like, I just woke up. I don't want to sound like a prick or anything, but, I just woke up. I wanted to at least wake up for a moment, and then I would go out. It's not like I was like, no, I'm not going out at all. I'm going to stay in bed all day long. No, it wasn't like that. I just wanted to get up for a moment and then get out. I would go outside. But I think my sister went out and told my mom, and she was like really sad, and then my mom was like, she came in and she was getting on my case, I think, about playing with her and being a better brother or something. I don't know. She probably guilt tripped me for not going out. It's a whole thing. It was pretty stupid. But she started to get more and more agitated for no reason, and I could notice, obviously. By this point, I could notice right away when my mom was, more hyper and more aware and more open, more energized than usual. And she started to ramp up, started to, raise her voice and get upset about something. And we started to talk about deeper things, and she probably, it was hard. But this was the first time I actually stood up to my mom while she was like that, because throughout my childhood, I couldn't do that. Sorry, I have burps or something. Indigestion, but anyways, this was the first time I raised my own voice at her and stood up for myself, because throughout my childhood, I was too afraid to do that. Of course, my mom, being, adult and having the power over me, and then also, having that PTSD, that bipolar disorder, it scared me. I'll be completely honest. It was frightening. It was hard to watch her like that, and it was hard to try and live day to day like that with her. And I was too afraid to try and stand up for myself. I would do whatever my mom said we were doing. I would just do it, because whatever made her happy, and I would do, because I was too afraid to stand up, because I didn't want to make her even more upset, make her yell even more. I just wanted to, my dad always says I'm always the one who just wants everybody to get along, because I'm a Libra. That's my zodiac sign. I was born October 12th. But anyways, that's the type of person I am. I always want people to get along. I always want to be the person that everybody, to get everybody to get along. I don't want any bad blood between anybody. I just want to have everybody be cool, because people there's a lot of fights I've been in the middle of throughout the years. Not even my immediate family, even with my grandparents and my aunts and uncles. They've fought. This past weekend, with my aunts and uncles and my grandparents, it was getting kind of rowdy, getting a little more argumentative. But anyways, this is the first time I stood up to my mother, which I am proud of. Even she was proud of me. She was proud that I could, I took every ounce of emotion within me throughout the years that I suppressed, and I I forced it out because I was tired of it. I've been tired of feeling like completely weak and powerless, as Pussifer would say. We know, not Pussifer. A perfect circle. A perfect circle. As a perfect circle would say, weak and powerless. I felt very weak and powerless. Uh, Growing up, trying to just live my life with my mom like that at times. It was hard, but I'm very proud of myself. Once she started to raise her voice at me, I started to raise my voice, and it's always this interesting thing that happens that's kind of scary. Whenever my mom's got more energy, more hyper, more, she's got, she's just got the adrenaline flowing. She like gets this certain way where it's like she will have two emotions fighting each other at once within her. She'll have like she'll be very emotional, which means she'll be super angry at me or whoever. She'll have a super anger mixed with like, I guess, sadness, because she'll like, if she gets super angry, she'll start yelling, and then she'll start to like cry almost. She'll be on the brink of tears, but like yelling and screaming. Very interesting. And again, I'm not trying to go out of line here. I'm just trying to be very real, genuine. I'm not trying to hide anything. And I know I'm gonna be posting this on the internet for as many people to see, but I'm just trying to be completely honest. I love my mother, and I know we've had our differences, we've had our hardships at times, and we've gone months without speaking to each other. Mainly because of me, because if in the past, if she would get hyper and she'll have all the adrenaline and she'll get that way, I will get very nervous and scared, and I'll be like afraid to see her because of past experiences. It's been a really tough time. But in the past, if she got like that, I would be afraid to talk to her. I'd be afraid to even look at her because I just didn't want to set her off. Not because I hated her or anything, because I was afraid. I was afraid if I tried to talk to her or anything like that, she would freak out and completely, like, it's like if you say the wrong thing at all, if you say the wrong word to her, she'll flip out. That's just me being honest. I'm just telling it how it is. I hope she doesn't see this. She might see this someday, I don't know, but I hope that she knows it's just from the bottom of my heart. This is how life is. This is how the past was. This is how my life has been. This is completely genuine, and I am not gonna hold back on any of the details. I mean, I'm not, I'm sure there's certain things I won't say, but this is just how it has been. This is part of the struggle that I've dealt with, and I'm not trying to make it sound like my mom's been a burden, but I'm not going to say it's been the easiest either. It's been difficult. It's been a hard time. It's a struggle. It's constantly, something to work at. Life is constantly something we all work at, and it depends on us if it'll get better or not. We have to be positive and to move forward, and that's what I plan on doing. I'm doing my very best to move forward and to keep a positive mind for the future, because I know that it'll get better. I know at times it might get real bad, and times might suck, but also I know that times can get better, and nothing good or bad lasts forever. That's the saying I go by pretty much on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, I stood up to my mom, and there have been times when we wouldn't speak for weeks, for months. But we're back at it again. I spent 2 weeks with my mom, at the new place with uh with my mom's girlfriend. I spent 2 weeks there, and it was great. I had fun. My mom's girlfriend has a side by side, and I practiced driving a little bit more with that. That's another thing I was gonna talk about. I guess that's been on my mind a lot. It's hard, but before that, I'll finish my thought on me standing up to my mom. She started to get louder, raise her voice, get more emotional, and I started to get emotional, but also raise my voice sort of the same way she did. I started to raise my voice, started to yell, full on yell, like, hey, please back off. I'm just sitting here with my coffee at the table, trying to enjoy myself a little bit, just wake up a little bit. And you're already cramming it down my throat, and I'm just trying to wake up and enjoy myself and just wake up, and you're freaking out on me. I'm just trying to wake up. Can I wake up? Please back off. Throughout my childhood, you've made me feel so scared, so nervous at times. You've made me feel like, and then I gesture that she made me feel so small. This is basically me, paraphrasing what I said. These are all basically the things I told her. How small she made me feel, how weak and powerless she made me feel, how scared she made me feel at times. And I could see her, take a moment to, stop and think. And I think that I genuinely got through to her, because she would just pause, and she would just it looked like she was deep in thought about everything. And I guess that was my goal, to make her think a little bit more about me and how I felt during my childhood and during my life. How it felt to grow up, trying to deal with that. I felt very scared at times, and I made sure to tell her that. I was like, how scared I would get. How small I felt compared to you, Mom. Do you imagine how my sister would have felt? My sister, she's 10. You imagine, a couple years ago when she was I don't know, 6, 7. Imagine how she would have felt at 6 or 7 years old with my mom like that. It was probably horrifying. Compared to me, yeah, I've dealt with it for longer, but bringing my sister into this mix, even worse. And I don't know if I spoke on my sister's behalf or not, but I was like, how scared I felt back then, Mom? Please back off. Please stop yelling. I just want to wake up for a moment, and then I'll come out and hang out. You don't have to get this way just over this. Every little tiny thing had to be blown out of proportion. I'm just telling it how it is. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm telling it how it is. But yeah, I think I really got through to her that day, and I think that was a turning point for us. I think hopefully I showed her I'm not a little kid anymore. I'm not a little kid to just push around a little when, you felt angry about something. I'm not a little kid. I'm going to be an adult soon. I'm going to be 18. I'm not little. I'm not, so easy to be pushed around anymore. And I think I showed her that. And after we were done yelling and arguing, and I stood my ground and held my territory after I showed her what I meant. She went outside for a moment, and I went back to my bunk. I went back and I laid down, and I was just like, I was probably exhausted from exerting all that energy because I just laid down and hid myself away because I just didn't want to see anybody. But then she came in and she was, calmer. She talked to me and she was all sweet and kind, and I talked to her again, and I was like, I was the same way. I was like, we were very apologetic to each other, and we made up. But she was like, I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. And she was like, you can, if whenever I'm like this, you can remind me to take my medicine and ask if I took my medicine. And I was like, what? No way, dude. Because if I would have said that in the past, it would have been over. And I told her, I had a metaphor for that. I was like, that's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. Me trying to ask if you took your medicine. That sounds like a horrible idea. But she was like, yeah. My girlfriend, she says the same thing. And before that day, I did talk to my mom's girlfriend. It was just me and her and my sister, and I didn't have a one-to-one with her about my mom, because when she was more hyper, and we had a real heart to heart about it, and it was really good because she did understand what I went through. And at first, before, I didn't think my mom's girlfriend knew what she was dealing with. And I was afraid she didn't know about my mom's struggles, disorder, problem. It's not a problem. It's just, something she's had to deal with. But my mom's girlfriend was very understanding, and she did understand what I was going through, and she had noticed. I mean, it's hard not to notice when it happens, but we had a real heart to heart, and I think my mom and her girlfriend, I think having her girlfriend around has helped her a lot to manage this better. And I wish I could say the same for her and my dad. And it makes me sad to think that they couldn't have managed it better themselves. But truth be told, I don't think my mom and dad were meant to be together at all. I've felt that way for a long time. Even as a kid, I think I realized, I always wondered, I always felt like, I always wondered if they really loved each other or not. I think deep down, I didn't know if they really loved each other or not. And I always wondered because I don't think they really showed it that much. I don't think they were meant to be together at all. And sometimes I wish they weren't together. And I know that's crazy to think, because then I wouldn't be here. My sister wouldn't be here. It's sad. It's a hard thing to think about. I don't want to. I love my sister, and I hate to think that way, because I love her, and I'm happy she's here. She's one of the best people I know in my life, and she keeps me stable. My sister, she keeps me sane. She keeps me feeling normal and on the ground. Because when I have nobody to talk to at all and it's just my sister, I talk to my sister. And I love talking to my sister. And she's a great person. My sister's great. And she's really good to talk to. Even if she's 10, I love her. And I hate to think of what life would be like without her. And if my mom and dad never met, and if I never existed, and if she never existed, it's hard to think about, but sometimes I wonder if it would have been better that way. If they would have just stayed friends, and they didn't try and make a relationship. It's hard, because, I think deep down, my mom has always, loved women. Which is fine. I think that's great. That she loves what she loves. She has her preferences, and I think it's great that she loves her new girlfriend, and I love her. I love my mom's new girlfriend. It's just hard because I wish, my mom and dad would have got together, got along better, and it's hard. It's very hard. But I'm happy my mom's with her girlfriend, but it's difficult because now I don't really have a family system. Just like Chevelle. I don't have a family system, and I think that's something that really screws with my head, because for all these years I've really, really missed having a family. I've really missed having that family system. It's very difficult. But, I do the best I can. That's all we can do. In hard situations, we gotta just do the best we can, keep moving forward. I remember at times I have thought about unaliving myself, as people say it. I have thought about unaliving myself, unsubscribing from life, because I just truly have gotten to that low of depths, because I just felt like, what's my point? What's the point of being here at all? I feel like ever since I was born, I've been cursed, looking out from my family. And I'm not trying to diss my family for the third or fourth, fifth time. I'm not trying to crap on my family. But it's been hard. It's been very hard. I'm grateful for everything I have in life. Everything I've ever had and ever gotten. I appreciate everything I've ever gotten in life. And to say I've come from humble beginnings is an understatement, but we've done the best we can with what we've had, and I'm grateful. But just looking out from my family to the bigger families, it feels like, compared to other people in the family, feels like I've definitely had it a little harder than a lot of them. It's like everybody else in the family moved away. Somewhere else, anywhere else, doesn't matter where. Everybody moved away and started families, and they seem like they've had it a little better. They've had a stable family system and good upbringings and good lives, and it's felt like throughout my whole life we've played catch up. We've played catch up the entire time. We've tried to catch up this entire time, and it's hard. It's hard to look from our family to everyone else's family, trying to catch up to everyone else, and it feels like we've just been stuck in our own ways. We are the black sheep of the family, all of us. My mom, dad, sister, me. We've been the black sheep. And it sucks. because I feel like that's how it felt for them, my parents growing up as well, in both their families. My dad was the youngest of his five siblings, and I feel like my life and his life are very related, the way we've grown up. And I feel bad, I feel like it's hard because my mom and dad have gotten the short end of the stick, I think. Also, my mom being the only daughter, only girl, among three boys. She's of four siblings. One of four siblings, only girl of three brothers, and my dad being the youngest sibling of five siblings of two brothers and two sisters. Yeah. So he had a short end of the stick trying to grow up. My mom, no. I'm getting too ahead of myself, stumbling over my words. By the time my dad was born, my grandparents, on my dad's parents were in their 30s. They're a little older by the time they had him, so my dad's siblings were the ones who pretty much took care of him and watched out for him. So as my grandparents, they didn't look after him as much as his siblings did, and that must have been that must have been different for him growing up. I guess sometimes I feel that way with my sister, but not nearly as bad. My parents were younger, having me. But, my mom, on her side, I think she was more of like she was more of the middle child growing up, because my two uncles were born before her, and then my last uncle was born after her, but she was the only girl among three brothers, and I can only imagine, how she felt growing up. She was probably the black sheep of the family, I guess. Being different, and, being the only daughter, only girl in the family, and then, my mom and dad got together, they had me. I just felt like growing up, we all had to play catch up. I was the first grandchild born, and I think that is something to take pride in, I guess, because I'm the oldest grandchild. I'm the oldest of the, I guess the cousins of my immediate family, my grandparents, brothers, and my mom. I was the first grandchild, so I guess that kind of sets a standard for me. I'm, I guess, a role model, quote unquote, role model to everyone, even if I'm not that great of an upstanding kid. I don't think that I'm that great. I do my best. I try my best to be as upstanding as I can, to be as kind and all that. It's hard. I feel like a lot of weight is on my shoulders most of the time, of course. I feel like I'm supposed to, like, know what I'm doing in life. I'm supposed to, be super responsible and have everything under control already, and I feel like just as clueless as any other kid would be or anything. But yeah, it's just hard. I think that, I think I'm proud of myself. I've made it this far, more on the independent side of things. I still have to have help with things, of course. Important things like going to doctor's appointments and all that stuff. Getting rides from my family because I can't drive. that's the other thing I'm trying to talk about. But I just have side rants, so many things to talk about, which is a good thing, I think, to get it all off my chest. But yeah, it's a struggle. I feel like I'm supposed to know what I'm doing, and like I'm supposed to have my head screwed on, and I'm supposed to know exactly what I'm supposed to do. Even though I do have dreams that might be unattainable, like being an artist of some sort, musician maybe, something. I want to be famous, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I want to be famous. I want to be rich and successful someday. Who doesn't? And it's hard because I have all these people who are like, yeah, that's great and all, but don't you have a plan B? Don't you want to be a tradesman of some sort? And that pisses me off too. It sucks having your dreams just thrown to the wayside. And that's where it's like you have to just forget about what other people say and focus on what makes you happy and what you want to do. No matter what people say, keep focusing and working on what you want to do and your dream and what you aspire for. That's definitely a thing that I struggle with as well. People don't want to hear about your dreams. People just want to know what's reliable and how much stability you have. How much stability, how much financial well-being you have. People don't care about whether you want to be an artist, an actor, or writer, because it's like an unattainable dream. Well, screw them. Screw those people. I have dreams that I want to attain, and I definitely think, yes, it's a good thing to have a plan B. That's why I guess I'm going to go to college. I not only want to go to college to, like, get a degree in something, to try and hopefully get a job where I can have, stability someday, but also it's more for experience. I want to not only learn another skill and go to school for something legitimate, but also I want to learn skills I want to have social skills, and I want to learn how to talk to people more and, hopefully make more friends, and maybe I'll even, try and get a girlfriend, finally. Don't judge me. I don't have a girlfriend, but I'm not too worried about having a girlfriend either. I think, yes, it's good to have relationships, but also it's good to bide your time and try and just people watch and to try and watch and see what people do and what decisions and the type of person they are before you delve into something. That's the lesson I have learned before, because I delved into a relationship that neither of us probably weren't ready for. But it was a good shot. It was my first good shot, I guess, at dating, even if that other person sucks. But yeah. Anyways, I want to go to college. I want to get out of my hometown for a while and live on my own and try and just experience more. And I want to try and, be an adult for once and actually try and work things out on my own. Even if it's scary, I know it's going to be hard and it's going to be scary, but I still want to do those things, because I think if I just have my chance at getting out of my hometown, getting out of the city I lived in all my life, I think I have a pretty good shot at happiness and adventure and just, seeing what happens, and I'm excited for that. It's a very important thing to me, because I think I've longed to be on my own and just trying to do my own thing. And I think I will someday. I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna just do my best as a novice right now. Even if I don't have a legitimate job right now, even if I'm working with my grandparents, I get to see my grandparents. I get to hang out with them and talk to them about real life things I might be dealing with, like I am with you right now. And I think it's important. And, it's important to catch up with them. And I know people are like, that's stupid, probably. That's stupid. You should just work. It's like, I feel like most teenagers my age are just focused on working so much that they forget about actually enjoying themselves and being a kid for the last fleeting moments. And I think I might be one of the only kids who realizes this is my last time to do whatever as a kid. I'm gonna be an adult, a legal adult soon. This is my final chance to enjoy being a kid, because it's gone this fast, and then 17 more years are gonna pass in no time, I bet you, like that. So I just want to enjoy things as much as I can. Kids are so focused on, making, trying to save as much money as they can, and, buy cars and get their licenses and work, and then they realize how stupid it feels right now. And it's always going to feel stupid to work, probably, but I don't mean that. I think working is great. I actually love working outside with my grandfather. The other day we chopped wood down with a chainsaw, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. I think going outside and working and actually sweating and using your hands is great. I actually found that it made me feel better as a person. Working outside with my hands, it made me feel like I was actually doing something. And that also led me to think, hey, maybe I'd be a good landscaper someday. If nothing works out, if everything goes under, and I have absolutely no choice in anything, maybe being a landscaper will be I think being a landscaper or groundskeeper is, honestly, it might be a great idea. Because that's what I tried to do at the zoo. I tried to get a job at doing groundskeeping because I thought it'd be a new opportunity, and it'd be a cooler, more exciting job. Well, maybe not in the 90-degree weather, 90-degree heat, but working outside with my hands, not sitting there on my ass 7 hours a day. It sounded like it would be a pretty good alternative, and I was very excited to try and do it. I think that's where people are they think I'm a loser. They think I just don't want a job. I wanted that job so badly. I was really excited to think that I could do it. And they were like, it's already filled up. We already have everybody for grounds. And I was like, crap, bro. That sucks. Because I was so looking forward into it. And I was gonna ask them, again, if anything changed, if anybody, quit or anything. But I just realized that it's too deep. I'm too deep into summer already that I'm just gonna enjoy it. I'm just gonna enjoy my summer, doing the things I like to do. And I don't care what people say. It's fine. I don't care. I'm happy where I'm at right now in my life during the summer. I think it's fine to want to enjoy the last summer. Because in the end, I think I'm a very deep thinker. I like to think very deeply about a lot of things. I will think very deep thoughts right before going to bed, which is great. And in the shower, of course, shower thoughts. But I'm in the end, what's the point? It doesn't matter. I have one life to live. What's the point if I choose to just do nothing all summer? I'm not doing nothing this summer, but what if I just chose to do nothing? Is somebody gonna come after me and throw me in jail? Am I gonna, like, genuinely be in trouble if I just do nothing and live as a hermit? I have thought about living as a hermit off the land, or as a monk, not worrying about, like, money and stuff, just living as a monk, or as, like, a freaking hermit off the land, as a mountain man or something, living on my own, hunting. I have genuinely thought of that. Not a bad idea in the economy and in the place we live on Earth. Might as well go join the North Sentinelese Islanders. Actually, no, that's a very bad idea. They will, they'd probably unalive me the second they saw me. Research it. I'm daring. I tell you. Look it up. The North Sentinelese, people. They will not take too kindly to me. But I have thought about just living off the land and hunting and just, not worrying about money and hunting and farming for myself. Sounds like a long shot, but what's the point? What's the point in the end? I have one life to live. I'm going to live it a certain way and just try and have the most fun I can, while I can. And I think that's what more of us should try and do. Most of us are trying to focus on, work and work and work and just not have fun or anything at all. Any hobbies, anything at all of our own. We just need to work, and that's it. And we're gonna, that's gonna be our time, working. That's it. That does not sound like a life worth living. I am telling you. That is miserable. Call me a loser, call me a freeloader, call me lazy. I don't care. I really don't. At least I'll be having more fun than you when you work for 50 years, not taking a vacation, not taking a sick day, and you just have no life. I'm not trying to diss on all the working people out there, but, I'm sure there's genuinely people who work, and that's it. They have nothing else going for them. No, not even any hobbies, any other type of ventures. They just work, and that's it. Work, and, that's it. I know that, I'm gonna do the very best I can to have the most fun I can in life, because I know that, once this life is over, I have no idea what comes in store after. I genuinely do want to believe in, reanimation, not reanimation, that'd be like zombies and shit. Not reanimation. To, come back as an animal, or, maybe be reincarnated as another human. Someday along the line, you get to live another life. I genuinely do believe once you unalive, you genuinely do, after a certain amount of time, might not be, instantly, but after some amount of time being unalived, you get reincarnated into a new life, and you get another chance, and you get completely new life. You don't have any sort of, idea about your past life, maybe in your dream or something, but, you get a new life. And I genuinely do believe in that. You get a new chance. Maybe as an animal, maybe as a human. Maybe as a alien, for all I know. I do believe in aliens. I won't lie to you. I do believe in aliens, paranormal, extraterrestrial living beings. I do believe in all. I believe in vampires and werewolves, for that matter. I genuinely do believe that humans are scarier than all of these things. Looking back on the history of the human race, how many wars and crimes and unalives. We all unalive each other, and it's all horrible. It's very scary. Life is, the world is scary. A scary, scary place. And I think that monsters are genuinely better than human beings. We are the true monsters. Because if you look back on history, look back during, the 50s or the 60s, segregation and all that, the discrimination between people just because of race, just because our color isn't the same. We had to be so hateful. I'm sorry if I'm getting too loud. It really does bother me. Racism and discrimination and sexism and all of that stuff, it really does bother me. Just because somebody is different than you, you feel the need to hate them and treat them like absolute doggish. It's stupid. So I think, human beings suck. And I'm dissing on my own race, my own species, but it's true. Human beings suck, and I don't care what you say. And I just got up, and my iron just went the lowest. I nearly just fell over because I just got up, but I'm probably gonna end this recording soon so I can start the drawing process. I hope you enjoy. I was going to talk about my drawing. No, not my drawing. I was going to talk about driving more in that whole process. That's been weighing on my mind lately, because of my friend. All my friends seem to have their licenses and they seem to be growing. And my friend yesterday picked me up and our other friends up in his car. He has his own car. He freaking bought it off already, paid it off. I'll be completely honest. It makes me jealous. I'm very jealous of other people, and I know I shouldn't be. But, it's hard not to be jealous when you have social media, AI, I guess, TV. You have friends and family. You can't help but feel the need to, be jealous sometimes. And I think it's okay. It's okay to be jealous, but to compare your life to other people's, that's harder to deal with. And it's hard for me to deal with. I do compare myself to others, and that's probably where a lot of negative self-worth and hate comes into, and it's hard. And, I am jealous of my friend. He has, seems like a good job, and, he was able to buy a car, and he seems like a really great driver. And I think going with them yesterday, seeing him drive, it makes me even more hungry for me to get my license. I do want my license. Even though I won't be getting a car for many, many years because I can't afford a car. I can't even afford a meal. Actually, I could afford a meal. I just can't afford a car. But it's like, seeing my friend driving yesterday, it did make me more jealous and made me want to drive more and practice more at least. And hopefully try and get my license this time coming. Hey, if not in the next coming months, in the next year or so. I want to try and get my license at least so I can vote and do all that other stuff. I want to get my license really badly. And I want to just practice driving a little more too. I think my driving experience was a little rushed because I have anxiety. I'll be completely honest. I have driving anxiety, and it's bad. Even though I do want to drive, and I do think driving is very cool, and I like driving, I am very nervous driving. Maybe that's because, the people who I drove with, my driving instructors, made me even more nervous than opposed to maybe, my family members, helping me drive. It was a little better with my family members driving me, but I think, yeah, maybe my driving instructors were a little, that made me a little more nervous, but I think I'm gonna try and work myself up to asking my family to help me drive more, practice more driving, and then I'll get more used to it, and then I'll be able to, take my test again. I failed my first test, of course. I just had to fail my first test because the guy who I tested with, he failed me on something stupid. It was wide turns, like, right turns. They're a little more tricky for me, and I mean, I'm sure he could have passed me, but yeah, I agree. It was hard to pass me on that. My turns were a little wide. It's hard for me to steer right easier, because I'm nervous. I was sweating bullets. My first driving test. And it's just funny to me how I ended up passing like the easiest part of it, which was parallel parking. Parallel parking, well, not parallel parking. Was it parallel? I think it was parallel parking. Where you park in between two cars. I think it was parallel. If I'm stupid and I don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to comment it. Because I have probably talked about a lot of random stuff. Parallel parking was like the easiest part of the test for me. That was the part like I aced completely. I made sure I knew exactly how to parallel park. That was like the easiest, low-key, the easiest part of it for me. And it's just funny how I was able to do the hardest, like, this seems like statistically the hardest part of the driver's test. And then he failed me on, like, probably the easiest part, which was just turning, which isn't that hard. In all reality, I should have done fine and passed my license, got my test, oh my god. I'm starting to stutter and trip over my words, so that's probably a sign to wrap this up. But yeah, he failed me on the thing as easy as turning. I'm sure that's as easy as, whatever, walking. I don't know. I'm sure it's just with practice, but I'm sure I'm definitely gonna get my license eventually. I don't even really think that it's that big of a deal right now because I don't really need a car right now. It's just added financial stress on my mind and my dad's mind because, he would have to pay for my insurance. He'd have to put me on his insurance and pay for my insurance even if I wasn't driving a car. So that's also kind of why I'm not too sad about, not having my license. Because it's kind of like a blessing and a curse. Because it's more added stress for him and more financial stress for him. But also, it would give me just freedom, I guess. If I ever wanted a car and tried to get a car, I could, obviously get a car and drive. And also, I would be able to vote and, like, have all that, be able to do a bunch of stuff with my ID and my license. But yeah, that's a little bit about my driving experience. I definitely think I'm gonna try and push to at least practice more if I can't get my license in the next coming months. Hopefully in the next year. If not, I can practice more a little bit, at least a little bit more, just practicing to get more, used to it. But yeah, that's pretty much that's pretty big summary of a lot of stuff I've dealt with and I think about and I have dealt with in the past lately. So, I think that's a pretty good place to stop for now. And I think, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this recording up so I can eventually start to, do the drawing part of it, and hopefully I can make a good video for you guys, and I hope you enjoy it whenever you see this. Thanks for listening and watching the video. Feel free to subscribe, like, leave a comment down below, share to your friends. I would really appreciate it. If not, that's okay too. Thank you for stopping by and sticking around. If those of you who decided to stick around, I really appreciate it, and thank you. It really means a lot to me. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. That was cringy as hell. Goodbye. I love you. See you later.